So hello guys, my name is Kushagra Agarwal and today I will do the analysis of GRMCE answer copy. I have attempted this paper on December 23. This subject belongs to a 2017 syllabus and I have got 54 marks out of 100 in this paper. Now let's start the analysis and we will talk later. So for the question number 1A, let's see question 1A. GRMC question 1A. So in this question, they simply asked that there is a company named Bandhan Limited whose paid up share capital is 9 crore, whose borrowing is 60 crore, and Mr. X is an individual auditor appointed in 2019, and now he seeks reappointment in 2024. So whether it is allowable? So I have simply written the provisions and made a conclusion, perfect conclusion. That's why I have got 5 out of 5 marks. If we see what were the provisions, so the public company with paid up share capital more than 10 crore or company whose borrowing more than 50 crore in PFY shall not reappoint its statutory auditor for more than one term of 5 consecutive years if he is individual. And in our case, the auditor was individual, hence he was ineligible to be appointed in 2022 to 2023. And that's why I have got 5 out of 5 marks. If I would have messed up here and I have written that he is eligible, then maybe examiner has given me only 2 marks. But my provision was correct and my answer was also correct. Now you see what I'm trying to say, that the provisions for rotation of auditor is a question that was asked by ICSI in previous year question papers also. So I mean not one time but 2 to 3 times they have asked this particular question. So I have made preparation for this particular answer many times. I mean I have practiced this question many times and that is why I have able to write it perfectly. Now even though I have practiced, but you see I got scared and made a small mistake. You see there is cut here, but still it doesn't matter. I have still got full marks because my provisions are correct and my conclusion is also correct. Now let's move on to the next question, question number 1B. Now question number 1B asks about whether the Amino Limited, who is an unlisted public company and has 7 directors on board, is required to appoint an ID, and asked if Amino Limited is a listed company and his chairman is NED, then how many IDs required. So I have simply given the provisions of how an unlisted company is required to appoint ID and how a listed company is required to appoint its ID. Now I have got only 4 out of 5 marks in this question. Why? Because I forgot to calculate the ID required to be appointed for listed company. Now you see, in case of listed company, whose chairman is NED is required to appoint 1/3 of his total 10th of board as ID. Now I should have mentioned in my conclusion that however, if Amino Limited is a listed company, it is required to appoint minimum 1/3 of its BOD as an independent director. That is 3, i.e. bracket 1/3 multiplied by 7 barabar 2.33 rounded off to 3. This calculation I should have given in my answer, but since I didn't, that's why 1 mark has been cut. And you see this question was also asked by ICSI in previous year question papers. So I have been able to write more precisely the provisions without any mistake. However, I have messed up in the conclusion. Now there's a reason why I got confused here, because there was a twist in question. You see, whether ID is required to be appointed by unlisted company or not depend on what are its financials in previous year. I mean what are its paid up share capital, turnover or loan in previous year. Now they have given me data of 2 years, 2021, 2022. Now this is not a big of a deal, but in examination you tend to get confused with extra information. You have to determine whether it is useful or not. I mean if you just blatantly cut it and think that no, it is not relevant, but later on you realize no, it was relevant. So to determine this, I have to spend a minute, and that's why I have missed the calculation in the question. Now what happened here was I have to either take the financials of this year or this year. Now it would depend on for which year I have to determine ID appointment requirement. So in this question, I have to determine ID appointment requirement for FY 2024, and that is why I have taken the financials of 2023. Hence the details of 2021 to 2022 is irrelevant. That was the gist of the question, and that is how I answered and got only 4 marks. 4 marks is pretty good too. Now let's move on to the question 1C. Now question 1C asked simple 2 questions. In 1C there was 2 part 1 and 2, and it asked 2 simple questions. First was actions that shall be placed before board meeting and cannot be passed by circulation. Now the simple question, I have written all the matters that cannot be passed by circulation and should be placed before board meeting. And now for the second question, They asked company has 9 directors, 2 of which vacant now. Now the new quorum, to determine the new quorum. So since 2 directors have vacant out of 9 directors, now quorum will be determined according to the 7 directors. So that is how I answered it. Like quorum of BM shall be 2 or 1/3 of total strength of board, whichever is higher, and directors whose places is vacant shall not be counted for quorum. Hence quorum will be 3 directors, 1/3 of 7 equals to 2.33 equal to 3. Now you see this calculation should be given if you want full out of full marks. As you can see, I have got 5 out of 5 marks in this question. Calculation is important if question given, if question has given a data and it asks for its number, you have to give the calculation. Now let's move on to the question number 1D. Now the question number 1D simply asked about disclosures to be made in board report, but in this case I have got only 3 out of 5 marks. Why? Because I have written the answer provided in the book, but in guideline answer they have written the provisions of Companies Act. Disclosures to be made in board report, there are 2 answers. One answer that was given in book and one answer that was given in the Companies Act 2013. So since I have prioritized the book, that's why I have written the content given in book about board report. But in guideline answer, let me show you in guideline answer 1D. You see, as per section 134 of Companies Act, there shall be attached to statements and laid for company generating a report of BOD which shall contain web address, number of meeting, data responsibility statement, and all this data. Now, since examiner is checking copy according to the guideline answer, that's why my answer would be wrong in his eyes. However, since this answer was written in book, that's why he has not given me 0. Instead, he's given at least 3 marks. Because it is not that this question was not at all written anywhere. I have not cooked up the answer. It was actually written in the book. But yes, I have not got more than 3 because it does not match the guideline answer. Let's move on to the next question, question number 2A. Now question 2 is optional, in which I have chosen question number 2, not 2A. Now let's move on to the question number 2. I have not attended the question number 2A. So question number 2A asked reasons for engaging proxy advisory firms by institutional investors. Now again, this question, this particular topic, reasons of engaging proxy advisors by institutional investors, this particular topic is not tough. However, the goal of this topic was to memorize the reasons given in the book. And I couldn't memorize the exact word-to-word content written in the book. However, it's not that I have not tried to memorize it, but I just couldn't. I have practiced this around 10 times, but I still couldn't get it right at the end. As you can see, I have written, it's not like I have not written the answer. I have written the answer, but it does not match the language given in module, and it even looks somewhat inferior to the language given in module. Let me show you the guideline answer. Look, this is nowhere possible for me to memorize. Even if it's not that I have not tried to summarize it. If you see, the proxy advisors generally offer a variety of services consisting of both analyzing the proposals as GM and recommending the voting decisions. This sentence looks small here, but if you write it in copy, it would take 4 to 5 lines, 4 lines at least, to write this sentence. And you just forget about this. This was actually impossible for me to memorize it. However, I have tried to take the gist out of it, but examiner doesn't like it. And yes, in here I have got only 2 out of 5 marks. Now let's move on to the next question. Conditions for omnibus approval for related party transaction. Now again, this is a provision based question, and this was asked by ICSI in previous question paper. That's why I have prepared it very correctly. That's why I have got 4 out of 5 marks. Now why I didn't got 5 out of 5 marks? Because I forgot to write one sentence. This sentence: audit committee shall lay down the criteria for granting omnibus approval in line with the policy on related party transaction of the licensee, and such approval shall be applicable in respect of transactions which are repetitive in nature. I have forgot to write this line. That's why examiner has cut my 1 mark. They are a bit picky, but it is true that I have missed it. So yeah, 4 marks out of 5 is good. Now requirement of internal auditor, question 2C. Now let's see what it asked specifically. Now there is a company named CDS, unlisted public company, whose paid up share capital 30 crore, turnover 150, and that it is. So they asked whether CDS is required to appoint internal auditor, and whether Mr. M, who is senior manager of finance in company, can be appointed as internal auditor. Now I have answered these 2 questions in this manner. First, I have written the internal auditor provisions. Which type of company are required to appoint the internal auditor. Then I have written the who may be internal auditor. Internal auditor may or may not be employee of company, but he must be a professional. And I have stated, hence CDS Limited is required to appoint an auditor because its outstanding loan are 110 crore and appointment of Mr. M as interrogator is valid if he possesses any of his professional qualification, because just by name we cannot assume whether he has professional qualification or not. You see, I mean, we can assume that yes, he is a senior finance manager, then he must have a professional qualification, but we should not assume, we should always state. Now what the point of it is that this question was also asked by ICSI in executive attempt in company law paper in which month? In June 21. Yes, I have given the June 21 executive attempt, where in company law the same question was asked word to word copy. Now what happened? I remember this question from that time. That's why I have been able to write this line, if he possesses any of the professional qualification like CAC or CMA. Because I have made this mistake in my executive attempt, where examiner has given me only 3 marks and I have wondered why I have got 3 marks. Then when I checked the guideline answer, where it was written, I mean guideline answer of executive, if you see the guideline answer of this paper, they have not written it. They have written it in direct language. Let me show you. They have written, in view of above, Mr. M, senior manager finance of company, can be appointed as internal auditor. You see, this is the exact answer I have written in June executive attempt, where I got only 3 marks out of 5. I have written it in this manner. However, this manner is not correct. What the correct manner is, he must be a professional. They have also not stated the provision in their guideline answer that he must be a professional. They have only stated that he may or may not be employed. This is a mistake on their part. However, examiner might have remembered. That's why I have got full marks out of full marks. I mean 5 out of 5. Now for the question number 3. Question number 3 are 3 marks question, 5 questions of 3 marks. Now here, first question was importance of auditing standard. Now, like I told you, I have not opened the book. Firstly, I have only prepared according to the previous year question papers, and this question was not asked in previous year question papers. That's why I have not prepared for it. So I am not being able to answer this question. However, according to my understanding, I have written some points like ensure effectiveness of audit process, ensure to determine whether financial statements show true and fair view of affairs of company or not. However, examiner have given me only 1 out of 3 marks. I mean, it is a good mark, because considering that I have not prepared for this question, still getting 1 mark is not a bad deal. Now let's move on to the question, why it is lagging. Okay, question number 3B, National Foundation for Corporate Governance. Now let's see what has been asked. MCA has set up National Foundation for Corporate Governance. MCA has set up National Foundation for Corporate Governance in year 2003. In this context, explain in brief mission of NFCG. So now, I have also not been prepared for this question, but by stroke of luck, just before going before examination, I have just read it in my book. That's why I remember it just for some time. I mean, Ministry of Corporate Affairs in 2003 has set up National Foundation for Corporate Governance with the following mission and objective. And I have just remembered the gist of it, that yeah, promotion of better corporate governance, recommendation of best practices, education and training in good corporate governance. Now, since I know this was not enough, I have also mentioned NFCG's Board of Trustee, which consists of Director General of Confederation of Indian Industry, Secretary of ICSI, ICI cost. Now see what I have done in my strategy to prepare the book. What I have done. Firstly, I have prepared this book in 3 stages. Number 1, download and collect questions from previous year question papers. Second, collect some more important questions from the book. Third, read book before going to examination. Now, by this strategy, I have been able to answer this question, because this was, I have not memorized it or not prepared it, just read it before going in examination hall. And now let's talk about question number 4C. Question number 3C. As per regulation 42D of Loader Regulation 2015, listed entity should recognize right of stakeholder. Now, this question relate to principles of corporate governance provided in regulation 4 of Loader. Now, ICSI has asked multiple questions relating to principle of corporate governance from regulation 4 of Loader in previous year question papers. So I had prepared perfectly all the corporate governance principles provided in regulation 4, of which 42D was one of them. Now, but the point is still that they are very, very tough to memorize. I mean, I have practiced them around 20 to 25 times, still I miss at least 1 to 2 point. I mean, I memorize 5 point, but I still forget at least 2 point. So yeah, that was how it was, but I still managed to write it perfectly, as you can see, and that's why I have scored 2 out of 3. Now why I haven't scored 3 out of 3? Because I have written these 2 points unnecessarily. I mean, due to the sudden stress in examination that I would not be able to recall them, I have written these two, which were wrong, which was not stated in the regulation 42D. Only these were stated in regulation 42D. And further, I have mismatched their order. I mean, I have written first, which was to be written third or second, and that is why examiner has cut my 1 mark. So you see, I've been able to recall it, but still due to confusion, I have written these two wrong. I mean, they are so tough to memorize because all of them just look like same. I mean, there are no uniqueness, no particular differentiation. I mean, regulation 4 bracket में 2 bracket A B C D, all of their content somewhat similar, which which confused me a lot. So yes, but still, since I have practiced it perfectly, I have been able to write this, and where I get 2 out of 3 marks. Still not a bad deal. Now this question, purposes for which IEPF may be utilized. Now this question just missed my eye in the book. I have marked it. I mean, to be memorized, to be written, but I still forget it. And here it is in the examination. So of course I am not able to write anything, but still I remember this provision from executive level. So I have written some initial points like for protection of an education of investor, payment to claimant on account of unclaimed shares of dividend. But still examiner has given me only 1 mark. I mean, considering I have forget to learn this particular topic, 1 mark is good. I have not answered question 3E. Let's see. Explain section 302 of SOX Act. I mean, of course, it was tough for me to memorize my Indian laws. So how I am going to memorize this? So yes, I have deliberately left it because it was almost impossible for me to memorize it. And as you can see in the whole paper, there is only a 3-mark question, and I don't want to waste my energy on a 3-mark question by leaving the other questions, the other important questions. That's why I have left it in book and of course in examination. And I don't want to cook up a answer by my mind, because that would have left a bad impression on examiner that this student doesn't study and only want to cook up its answer by himself. That's why I have considered it safe to left it instead of wrongly attempt it. So I have only cooked those answers where I knew something about them, but I don't want to cook up an answer where I have not even read a 1 line. So yeah, I left this question. Now if I see the question number 3A, B, C, D of 3 marks, that means total 15 marks. And if I collectively see how many marks I have got in all these questions, if I calculate 1 plus 2 3, 3 plus 2 5, 5 plus 1 6 marks. So I have got only 6 marks out of 15 in question number 3. Now let's move on. Now this question was very tricky. Part 2, that is risk management. Question number 4A, this question was very tricky. Tricky by I mean it was tricky in the language of what it is trying to ask. Now let's see, they have stated that there is an investor who want to invest in company A and company B. Now company A is a highly diversified company and company B is a startup company. That means company A is stable and safe. However, company B is highly risky because of its instability. Now what they have asked, explain the concept of systematic risk and unsystematic risk. I mean, they have asked the difference between systematic risk and unsystematic risk. That was given in book. If you see, yes, that was given in book. Now but the confusion lies in later. Let's see. In view of above, explain the concept of systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Okay, then classify the risk involved for investment in company A and company B under categories of systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Now what you interpret by that? I mean, I would have interpreted it in a way that I have to write systematic and unsystematic risks faced by company A and systematic risks and unsystematic risks faced by company B. However, what they were trying to ask is whether company A covers in unsystematic risk or systematic risk. So in guideline answer, they have answered it keeping in view investment in company A would be covered under unsystematic risk and investment in company B would covered under systematic risk. Now I have failed to interpret it in that way. That's why examiner have given me only 2 marks. Let's see. So you see, I have given a difference between systematic risk and unsystematic risk. 2 marks, correct. Now I have classified the systematic risk for company A and systematic risk for company B. and systematic risk for company B and unsystematic risk for company B, but examiner has cut my answer. Why? Because it didn't match the guideline answer. I mean, yeah, you can say that it's my fault that I am not able to interpret it, but what I think that it was really tough to interpret, or I mean, it is not. I mean, how I would interpret it in that way? This is really absurd, you know. I mean, let's move on to the next question, because this question, I mean, nowhere interpret in a way. If you say that company A whether unsystematic risk, I mean, you cannot say that a company only face unsystematic risk and another company only face systematic risk. Every company face both systematic risk and unsystematic risk. I mean, yeah, it's been a trick. I mean, I think it is not trick in the question. It is a trick in the answer. I mean, they have tricked us in the guideline answer and not in the question. Now let's move on to the next question, question number 4B. Now in this question, it was asked that there is a GN Private Limited which publish physical newspapers and magazines. Now its promoter was worried that long-term survival of company would be hindered because of the technological advancement. I mean, that is the growth of electronic media. Now we have been asked to prepare a note for meaning of obsolescence risk and suggested measure to deal with the risk. Now in guideline answer, I have given the meaning perfectly, 1 mark. Ways to deal with obsolescence risk. Now I have written a more theory based answer rather than direct solution. I mean, okay, continuous innovation in process or product research and development, adapt to needs of new generation. Okay, but what I have done wrong is that I have not mentioned my direct answer or direct solution. I have again started writing a theory part. I mean, it was not necessary. Obsolescence can be managed by having proper risk management policy. This is a general answer, and examiner doesn't like it. I mean, the situation given in the question was direct. I should have written a direct answer. That would have been much good, and I would have got 3 marks out of 5 marks in this question, because I think examiner was expecting me to write meaning, that is correct, and a solution, a proper solution for the company. And what would be the proper solution? That is, the non-given case, GM Private Limited should start publish their media anymore to cope up with the technological developments like e-newspaper, e-magazine, etc. That would have been much better answer than what I have written here. I mean, why I did that, I don't know. I mean, I think the examination pressure would got better of me, and I have written this crap. I mean, you see, examiner have not even touched this part. Examiner have not even touched, because he was expecting a direct answer, and that's why he have cut not only this part. I think he have cut this both, because he was expecting a more direct answer. So yeah, in this question it was my mistake, and that's why I have got only 1 out of 5 marks. Now let's move on to the next question. Now this question was pretty straightforward. Meaning of reputation risk, consequences of loss of reputation, the approach to be followed for effective management of reputation risk. Now it has also been asked by ICSI in previous question paper. That's why I have prepared it correctly, and due to which I have got 3 out of 5 marks perfectly. Now you think why I didn't got 5 out of 5 marks? Because ICSI will never give you 5 out of 5 marks in a theory question, because you can, as an average student, you cannot match the accuracy. However, I am not talking about the toppers. Those guys are just above the world. I mean, who can match the accuracy of these type of sentences are just godly. But I have not been able to match it. That's why I have got 3 out of 5 marks. And according to me, 3 out of 5 marks in these type of questions is not bad at all. I mean, it was better than 1 out of 5 marks. Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 4D. Now question number 4D asked, explain the difference between risk mitigation. Explain different risk mitigation measures undertaken by organization. Now you see there are 6 risk mitigation measures that were provided in book: risk reduction, risk transfer, risk avoidance, risk hedging, risk combined, risk retention. An examiner has given me 3 out of 5 marks. Like I said, you won't get more than 3 marks because you cannot write beyond your capability. And like I said, it was not bad. It was better than 1 out of 5. Now guiding principles for integrated reporting. Now I am confused with this, because he has given me only 3 out of 5 marks. I have expecting at least 3 out of 5 marks, because my answer is not at all wrong. I mean, even I have given more. Let's see the question first. Question number 5A first. Let's see. 5A first. Explain the guiding principles in relation to preparation of integrated report and its content and manner of disclosure of information. I don't know where I am wrong. The guiding principles, the content element, the guiding principles, and the disclosure in integrated report made in following financial capital disclosures. I mean financial capital, manufacturing capital, intellectual capital, human capital. So I don't know what I did wrong that examiner has given me only 2 out of 5 marks. I mean even if you see the guideline answer, it matched perfectly word to word. I don't know what. So this is a mystery to me. I should have got at least 3 out of 5 marks. But still I have got only 2 out of 5 marks. I mean I think examiner was not impressed by me with my previous answers. Like you see here, I should have given direct answer, but I didn't given, and that is why later on examiner just not convinced with my answer writing. That's why he has given me 2 out of 5 marks. So yes, here I have got 2 out of 5 marks. Now let's move on to the 5A second. Here I have got again 2 out of 5 marks. Now I think this is well deserved because yes, I have memorized the annual report on CSR activities, but this was a more specific question about format for annual report on CSR activities. Explain how the excess amount be set off if any would be presented. Now this is a much more of a specific question that I didn't memorize or didn't study. Like I said, I have only studied 60% of the book, like the most of the cream provisions and the cream topics. And like I said, I have prepared the annual report on CSR activities, but this is a more specific. But I think I would have attempted it correctly if I had actually read, not memorize, but I should have at least read the format. Now let's see what I have answered. So yes, like I said, I have given as per next second format of CSR report, and I have written in language form how excess CSR expenditure is shown. Company who spent money on CSR expenditure more than prescribed limit, then such company is eligible to carry forward. I mean I have simply written the provision, but what was asked was to write the format in which it was presented. And if you see guideline answer, the format was this. In this format it should have been presented, but since I haven't, that's why examiner has given me only 2 marks. I mean he has given me 2 marks for the correct attempt, but not accurate. I mean you see, I think that what examiner does, like you see here in guiding principles, I would have got 3 marks, and if you see here the risk mitigation measure, I would have got at least 4 marks. So examiner has cut 1 mark from here, 1 mark from here, and given me 2 mark here. That's what I think, not absolute, but that's what I think, just an intrusive thought. Now 5A3, 5A third. 5A third asked about explain the matter to be included in director responsibility statement with particular reference to internal control, including internal financial control. So yes, this question was asked by ICSI in previous year question papers. That's why I have prepared it and I have written. However, I have been not able, I mean I'm not able to recall it at the time of examination. That's why I have written somewhat incorrect. I mean not wholly incorrect, but yes, it didn't match the language given in the book or module, but still I have got 3 out of 5 marks. Yes, that is how it is. Now question number 5A4. Now 5A4 asked for explain content of compliance certificate. Explain the contents of compliance certificate provided by Chief Executive Officer and Chief Financial Officer to the Board of Directors. Now this question was also asked in previous year question paper. That's why I have prepared it. But still I haven't been able to recall much of it, but still I got 3 out of 5 marks. Now you see, in this paper, whether new syllabus or old syllabus, when you see theory and you think I am not able to do it, just do it. Practice it 1 time, more time, 10 times, and even after practicing 10 times you think I am still not getting it, don't worry, just practice. Because in examination, if you write, even if you not recall any of it, but still you will recall enough that examiner will be satisfied that you have prepared it and you are not cooking it up. Because think, there is no other way. They are asking the same questions every year, but students are still not able to answer it because that question is in itself impossible to memorize. That's why you have to memorize it one way or the other way. And if you memorize it, you will get marks. Now, like I said, because of this, I am only able to cover the 60% of the book because of this type of question. Because if there are 10 questions in a chapter like this, I am only able to memorize 6 of them because I have prioritized the 4 of them which was asked in previous question paper, and 2 more of them according to me that was seemed relevant, and I left the other 4. Why? Because I am not able to cover the 100% of this. So yes, it worked out for me, and here I have got 3 out of 5 marks. Now next question 6A, I have not answered it because again it was asked from an international topic, and which by the way I have not even find it in the book. It was a Now for the question number 6B, they have asked difference between absolute measure and relative measure approach of SVA. Now I have not prepared it because I couldn't found it in my book. However, just one day before exam, I have searched for it on the internet, and where I have got 1 point for absolute measure and 1 point for relative measure. Just I have read it just by curiosity, and I have not actually practiced or prepared for it. But still, I have been able to write at least 1 point. That's why I have got 1 out of 5 marks. However, examiner doesn't see the definition. He just ignored it. Why? Because of course the question was straightforward, the absolute measure and relative measure. But since in difference questions, examiner expects 5 differences for both absolute and relative measure, that's why he has given me only 5 marks. Now for the difference, I could have cooked up the difference. I think I have got much more marks. I mean 2 or 3 marks. I mean cooking up difference is not a much of a deal. I mean if you see absolute measure is calculated by reducing, but you see if you cook up this type of questions, you write crap. Like I write absolute measure absolutely measures as VA. Like what is this? Like relative measure relatively measure negative or positive impact of contribution. Like what is this? I mean of course examiner totally ignored it, and he have given only preference to the first point, which was actually the difference between absolute measure and relative measure.